As an animator, director, and producer, his name appeared on Disney films as Wolfgang Reitherman. But since his earliest years, he's been known as Woolie. And since his earliest years, Woolie Reitherman has had a taste for action.
I started flying when I was about 16. In those days, you didn't even need a license. And a couple of friends of mine got killed, and that kind of jars you up a little bit.
In World War II, he piloted supplies over the dangerous route from Burma to China. And like a young Hemingway, he loved the mountains and the sea.
I used to love the ocean, and it kind of teaches you something. If it's bigger than you, curl up and let it happen, and don't try to anticipate it. And those things that really take you along, sometimes if there was an undertow, you had to come quite a ways around, which taught you not to panic.
Woolie Reitherman never panicked. After Walt Disney's death, Disney Animation was like a plane without power. Reitherman became the pilot in the hot seat. Action and danger were Woolie Reitherman's trademarks. You can share his sense of adventure here in the Disney Family Album. Woolie Reitherman started animating for Disney in 1933.
I was sort of recruited out of art school, and I really didn't want to go to Disney's because I'd heard you made drawings over and over and over.
His first assignment, The Magic Mirror, in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, didn't really give him a chance to spread his wings.
What wouldst thou know, my queen?
It was kind of tough because it was held. Someone was talking like this all the time. Now, in animation, what you do is you phrase something, and you talk this way, and then you cock your head over this way, and it gives it a feeling of life. I did that thing over 3, 4, 5 times. I finally devised a way of splitting the head in half by folding the paper. And I'd draw one half of the expression, then I would fold the paper over and draw the other half right on the same line and the same thing, so that it didn't jiggle all over the place. And that finally worked. It got me out of a hole.
Lips red as the rose, hair black as ebony, skin white as snow.
Snow White. In the 1930s, Woolie and the other young Disney artists learned how to make their animation imitate life. They did it by observing life in places like the nearby Griffith Park Zoo.
I think a lot of the time we didn't know what we were striving for, but we knew that observation of life and building a vocabulary of observation about animals and so on gave us a better understanding about movement in general. And of course, we were all eager, and we were compulsive drawers, and it was great fun to come over here and draw and bring your lunch and whatever, and bring a pretty girl over.
The animators knew that their work would have to come alive on the screen, but this was no simple task.
The flower of this medium was to be able to instill life into a drawing, and that meant it had to move. A painting is there, and it does have a feeling of life, but it's caught in one instant, so is a photograph. But until it moves, life really doesn't get into that thing called a screen up there until it moves, and moves with meaning and making statements. It's not alive.
I want to be a man cub, and stroll right into town and be just like the other men. I'm tired of walking around.
Careful analysis of movement became the bedrock of Woolie's animation style.
We used to watch film at night, usually the newsreels of sports like horse racing and boxing, and we'd stop the film, you know. And we didn't know really what we were looking for, but we observed that in certain phases, certain things seemed to happen. Well, if I'm going to animate an animal, say running, of course you got to have a kind of an appearance that's the right animal. With the horse, you knew that the back end of the horse was doing the driving, those back feet. And you knew that there was a kind of a series of leaps. So what I'm saying is you'd start out with the front feet, and you knew that they didn't come out this way and do this. You knew that there was an overlap. So you'd start out, and the head would be down, and would come out and reach. And this other foot was getting ready for the other reach. Now you'd come down, and these 2 feet would hit. And now you knew that the weight of the body was now on those 2 feet. So finally, if you'd go through that straight ahead, and after the first stride or two, you'd really have something that worked, and it was alive.
By the time Fantasia went into production in 1938, Woolie understood movement so well he could animate animals that in real life were extinct.
The beginning of analysis of movement, action analysis, of course, is the skeleton. And we went down to the museum, and we saw these big animals on bones, and they're absolutely authentic. And you could kneel and try to figure how they would get all that weight from one foot to the other, how the bones would articulate. And then, of course, the other thing is to draw them so they're always above you. You don't look level at a big thing. You always have to look up at it. To really get the full personality of a wild animal, it has to be chased by something, or it has to be in danger, in real mortal danger, which I guess it's like watching a bullfight in a way, but it's very exciting.
Using what he knew about anatomy, Woolie also exaggerated movement to comic proportions, as with the crocodile in Peter Pan.
Oh, I know some of the guys criticize me for, there's no crocodile in the world that a man can stand straight up in and hold the jaws apart like that. I says, nobody's going to care about that if it's funny.
Ow! Captain! Captain!
The incredible bulk of this rhino made it perfect for a bit part in Robin Hood.
We needed these powerful tank-like creatures that would just form a phalange and just rip through everything. And that was just a one-dimensional beast in a way. Of course, we put clothes on them, gave them spears.
Also in Robin Hood, Woolie cast the king of the beasts as the neurotic Prince John.
Enough! I am king! 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 Off with his head!
Well, that's a different reason for using a lion. It was a cowardly lion, and the lion is a symbol of regal, of king, and of course he wasn't a king, and he was a scroungy lion and a sneaky lion, and it gave you a real good character. And then, of course, with Peter Ustinov's voice, you couldn't miss.
Oh, the richest plum of them all, Notting Ham. This crown gives me a feeling of power! Power! Forgive me a cruel chuckle. Power.